You had no idea that these 10 champions are the most broken champions in Wild Rift as of right now. So if you want to climb and if you're tired of getting team gapped every single game, then lock in one of these champions and defy the matchmaking. Are you ready? Then let's take a look at them. First, we'll start with the Blind Monk, one of the most biggest abominations in the game right now. His jungle clear is insane, his ganking is brutal, and even his scaling is not that much of a problem anymore, simply because of the items in the game. Whatever you're doing, be it starting Crux with your third ability or starting with your blue buff, it doesn't really matter, you can do basically anything on this champion. The most usual thing you do is free camp into a gank or just taking a look at what is happening, but if you want to play consistently, you can go for a full clear and then invade the enemy upon resetting and buying an item. You will know their spawns once you spotted them, and then you can play whatever you want. You are the mobile champion, you have the kick available, and then you just one tap anything in your way. The next champion, which is absolutely busted right now, is Tristana. The new build with the Gluttonous Greaves into Bloodthirster into Navori is the best build for Tristana right now. She sustains, she has damage, she has everything she needs, and she cannot be denied anymore. And with this in mind, this champion takes over games in an absolute breeze. Upon hitting level 5, you just bomb somebody's head and completely demolish them by using your spells onto them. Every spell you hit onto an enemy also stacks the bomb, so if you hit your second ability while you place the bomb on them, or you ult them away, it all adds a stack, and then if the stack explodes, well, you know what happens, they get one tapped on level 5 unless they have exhaust. For the laning phase, just make sure to not randomly place your bomb onto minions because that gives the enemy an opportunity to all in onto you because you lack your biggest damage tool. Other than this, scale into the late game and just press your attack button, you'll be more than fine. A support champion which is beyond broken right now is Pyke. The buffs to the armor pen boots and Duskblade made him even more broken than he already was, but there's one little secret that many people don't know about. His grey health and the second wind interaction. So whenever you take damage and you're close to enemy champions, you get grey health. So it's your choice if you want to use that grey health to regain health by walking out of vision, or keeping yourself that low and then getting hit to get even more healing from second wind to then use your grey health a tiny bit later. That way you can go for absolute insane trades during the laning phase and heal up without any problem. With that in mind, you can also stay in everyone and then go for a cheeky all-in. Also, you can be very creative with your ultimate ability, using it to jump behind an enemy while you're also using your third ability. That way you use your ult as an engage, which most of the time in the late game will be more than enough because then the enemy instantly dies anyway. A champion who is more of a one-trick champion is Draven. This champion's laning presence is beyond absurd. His damage capabilities, his snowball capabilities, it is crazy. And if you're very good on this champion, you are really missing out if you don't play him. Generally speaking, if you just randomly play AD carry and play Draven, it's not really the best, but once you play Draven and you main this champion, you will realize how many bot laners you can kill on cooldown, because well, they're probably the worst players in the game, but psst, don't tell anyone. Oh yeah, and do yourself a favor and go for Gluttonous Greaves into Bloodthirster, don't grief yourself with anything else. For the top lane, we have the beefy gamer golem Ornn, the wholesome existence, also known as the brutal assassin that allows you to craft items anywhere, deals 50k damage, turns every teamfight into your favor, and is just overly annoying while basically undying as well. So if you're kind of weak-siding or have no idea what to play in the Baron lane while being autofilled, then this champion is probably the most broken champion next to Garen you can lock in and still have the biggest impact possible. You deal damage like the typical GM AD carry, but you're as tanky as a 50-0 Garen, for zero reason. Just make sure to be aware what's happening and look for teamfights. In those teamfights you want to use your ultimate relatively early to slow the enemy down and knock them all up. Preferably in the corridor, because then they can't really escape and take so much damage. Well, another champion who is living in the jungle right now like an absolute machine is Kha'Zix. The Gluttonous Greaves and First Strike and Duskblade or Yuma's Ghostblade are very powerful on this champion. This champion loves to fully clear his jungle on his first rotation, and then afterwards, once he hits level 5, it's game time. You kill everyone once you have the first abilities evolve, and your first item, which are going to be Gluttonous Greaves. The biggest part about Kha'Zix is that the enemy is constantly making mistakes due to the matchmaking in place, so you're most of the time just facing master players, and as a sovereign player you just basically farm them like candy on Halloween. But never forget, you always need to take Overgrowth, otherwise your HP bar will be too little and then you can die instantly. The flip side is you kill instantly as well, but dying instantly doesn't sound too healthy to me at least, right? So yeah, keep it consistent, go for your full clear, once you're full cleared, reset, buy your item, and then play for either an invade or full clear again. You really scale very well, and there's no reason for you to make any type of coin flip plays. It's only hurting you. But if there's something that I would recommend to every Kha'Zix player is buy Sweeper as the game goes on and wait in the wings. Basically just wait and fork a war and see what's happening. Use your evolved second ability to control the fight and then pick out one isolated target and immediately jump out again. You'll have all the time in the world because you're a little bit tankier than other champions and you still deal enough damage. And if you happen to have dropped low afterwards, just go for a jungle camp and quickly heal up. With Gluttonous Grease and Bloodline, you'll have no problem sustaining through everything on the map. And this is the powerful thing about this item and rune constellation. You basically don't have to recall again, only if you have full items or, well, enough gold to spend for anything you truly desire. But the next champion is a champion that everybody is underestimating. It's Senna. Usually you see every Senna go 0-10, running it down, getting yelled at, and you see the most shittiest items ever. But what if I told you that Senna is one of the most broken support champions, right after Pyke, and yet you still don't play her? Why? Senna has one of the most grotesque laning phases while utilizing Kraken Slayer, her first ability and auto-attack resets. She has crazy scaling, she can build basically anything she wants, and she has the most powerful synergy between the Overgrowth tree, or rather the Resolve tree, and her Soul Mechanic. You are an indefinitely scaling AD carry, hyper carry champion that really benefits from staying around minions that die or monsters that die because of the soul mechanic, and you gain even more rewards from this. So investing into Nullifying Orb, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth, while as well potentially going for defensive items such as Plated Steel Caps into full AD or Mercury Treads into full AP, while also wielding the Relic Shield, is just beyond broken. And yeah, you have a build for basically every occasion. If you have no idea what to do, just take a look at our Senna rundown. We basically explained everything and more, so give it a look. Another jungle champion, who would have guessed that one jungle rolls OP right, is Hecarim. People say, yeah, the Hecarim got nerfed and he's weaker, and yeah, he is weaker, but that doesn't make him weak. Simply because something got nerfed doesn't mean it's bad, and for Hecarim that is very much the case, and for the other champion later, it's even more the case. Hecarim really loves to fully clear his jungle, utilize Overgrowth and all the Bruiser items as well as defensive itemization to just run over you with the raw stats. You cannot really kill him because he heals too much, deals too much damage, and simply doesn't die, so what do you do against this champion? You really need anti-healing, and you really need to have a balanced team comp in a sense of damage distribution. You don't want a full physical nor a full magical damage team comp, or you will never be able to kill him. He will heal too much, be too tanky, and there's no way for you to win. He also has very crazy synergies with other champions. For example, if he has a Yasuo on his team, he can just ult into your backline and knock back the target of choice, and then the Yasuo ults the target and the target just dies. And there's no real counterplay unless you have QSS or Stasis. Oh yeah, and like Kha'Zix, fully clear your jungle, reset for an item spike, go for a play upon hitting level 5, and only go for an early gank if you truly believe it's going to pay off. If you just get a Summoner Spell, it's not going to be worth it for you most of your time, because you lose so much time on the map and experience and gold for zero reason. Another jungle champion, or maybe AD carry champion, is Nilah. This champion is probably one of the most underrated AD carries or junglers in this game. This champion is very powerful into anything that auto-attacks you, and is really well into Kha'Zix as well. The reason is, Kha'Zix does decently high damage to you, right? But Nilah does even more, and if the Kha'Zix invests into the full lethality build, then the Nilah can just instantly pop you, because one of the few things that Nilah does well is just blocking auto-attacks. So unless the Kha'Zix jumps onto the Nilah and instantly one-shots her, things can get a little bit troublesome, because Nilah can also invest into Death Stance and later swap on her boots into Plated Steel Caps, turning her into effectively an absolute unit of a tank. Now, don't get me wrong, Nilah isn't specifically powerful into Kha'Zix, but she can deal with him once she has reached those item checkpoints. Earlier or before this happened, things can get really troublesome because, well, Nilah doesn't have enough damage to deal with him. However, Nilah is a very powerful scaling champion that helps your teammates even avoid auto-attack-centric champions on the enemy team. For example, a Renekton can never stun you because you just use your second ability and lob into his face because he can't do anything to you. Or just imagine the face of a Jhin player trying to hit you while, well, you have your second ability going for like 2.5 seconds, and he tries to hit you and then he has to reload as well, and then he just doesn't attack you for 15 minutes and just dies. Lovely, good champion. As for our last champion, we have the nerfed Vladimir, and I say nerfed with, well, quotation marks. Yes, Vladimir got nerfed, yes, he is weaker, but in the same case as for Hecarim, he isn't weak. It's just basically bullshit that people are telling you. This champion is still very powerful once he has reached certain item check marks. For example, Vladimir Pless can start with a Ruby Crystal to go into Lucidity Boots. With that, he already has enough ability haste to make himself very powerful. After this, he can choose whatever he wants to go for, be it a Rift Maker, be it an Awakened Soul Stealer, and then look what's coming after. He wants more AP, he wants more ability haste, and he wants movement speed. Therefore, you will always take Phase Rush, and most of the time Ghost. With these two, you will have enough power in terms of movement that you can dictate how the teamfight is going to go. You will peace out and then you'll go back in again with cooldown resets. And once you have access to your Awakened Soul Stealer, this becomes even more daunting for the enemy team, because then you will have two pools in short sequence after annihilating a part of the enemy team, which is quite easy given your champion's damage and the inability or lack of knowledge on the enemy team to maybe build any type of magic defense. Because Wild Rift is still a game where people refuse to just buy a null magic mantle for 500 gold to deny being dealt true damage to. Yep, I know, it is what it is, but I don't make the rules, I just tell you what's broken. And that's it for today. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to boost the algorithm with a comment, become a member if you want juicy builds for juicy champions, and if you want a coaching session to maybe escape the Grandmaster Low, well, you're more than welcome to hit me up. So again, thank you and see you soon for more Rift Guides content.